Dobry wieczór, moi drodzy. Bardzo się cieszę, że spotykamy się w tym gronie, żeby porozmawiać o filmografii Christiana Friedla. Oczywiście będziemy mówić po angielsku, więc już się przestawię. No, I'm not going to talk in Polish, but that would be really interesting. So we started with an award. Now we're going to talk about films. It's like a bit different order, but such a cordial atmosphere. It's weird a bit to go back to the film that we just saw. I'm going to try to focus on the zone of interest, but it would be really difficult for me not to ask about your work with Michael Haneke. Now I'm going to also have to ask about White Lotus, or maybe somebody's going to ask about that. I'm going to give you the pleasure of that. We have a bit of time to talk, but I'm gonna just jump in. Watching the zone of interest is a really difficult process for a viewer. I have seen this film once. I'm thinking of watching it again. But for a person who was there inside of the shooting process, and now it's after that, and you can watch it. What was the experience for you to be a viewer of this film? Because it's such a different thing that you took part in, and then you watch it on screen. Can you just say a few words about that?
For me, it was, I watched the movie for the first time together with Sandra in a little cinema in Leipzig, together with her dog, because it was her dog in the movie. And we were there, and after we watched this, one of the first or the latest cuts, not the final cut of the movie, we were, we had no words. We know what we are doing, what we are expecting, but it was a different, it was different to watch the movie, to see the decisions of Jonathan, to hear the sound, the main character, I can say that, or the second movie in it, and we hear the phenomenal genius score from Mika Levi, and we watched all these together, and it was strange to see that, and I was shocked when I rewatched it in Cannes for the second time. Then I was shocked that I saw sometimes myself not playing a character. Sometimes in some situations I had the feeling this could be me, and that was the challenge, to find a way that the viewer can also say this could be me. So, and that was intense.
Yeah, there are those moments in the film that you can fully identify with this everyday life in this house. But now we're going to jump back in time a bit before that. Meeting Jonathan Glazer, I've read somewhere that you didn't know what kind of film he was thinking of casting you in. Can you say about the discovery that this movie is going to be the zone of interest?
Yeah, I had to do a self-tape to describe why I became an actor, and to introduce.
What did you say?
I said the decision was to do it in English or in German, but I felt there's a director who's searching for authenticity, and I decided to do it in German. And I said that when I was born, it sounds a little bit strange, but it was in, I cannot say why, but I want to become an actor or a musician or an entertainer, I don't know. When I was young, there was a little stage, I was there, and I love to entertain people, and I love the reaction of people, and I do something and people laugh or say something, and I really like that kind of dialogue. And I said it in the camera without knowing what's the movie about, And I think this was the door opener to meet Jonathan in London. And then he describes his vision. He told me what he was searching for, what is my possible character I will play. He showed me some rare pictures of the Höss family. And I think my reaction was important for him. He wants to tell by himself what the project is about, and he wants to see and feel my reaction. And I think this was the reason that no one was allowed to tell me more about the project before I met him. And after that, I had a traditional casting with Sandra together, and we had a lot of discussions. Is it good to tell a story in this way? Because Jonathan was from the beginning very transparent with us to share his thoughts, his vision. And after this traditional casting, he asked us, do you want to join, do you want to play this character? And I said immediately yes, because I grew up with Jonathan's work because I'm a huge Radiohead fan, and he worked for Radiohead for 2 iconic music videos. He did a lot of iconic music videos. I didn't know the name of the director, but then I was Googling his name, and then I said, oh my God.
So this is this guy.
This is this guy, and then I watched Under the Skin, and I watched Birth, and I was fascinating, and I want to be a part of his work and his vision.
You said play a character, but I'm really curious about your approach, because you play or you act in a film. There is this character called Rudolf Höss, and we recognize him as a symbol of evil. So what is your approach in this kind of situation? You are trying to connect or distance, forget who he is or remember who he is. What's your approach towards that? And if you use, maybe let's start with that, because I've heard recently that my questions are too long, so I'm trying to really focus on what I want to ask in this question. So that would be the approach towards the real character.
It was different than other movies because we didn't want to make a biopic. Jonathan was searching for the truth or a believable behavior. And we had a lot of Zoom calls, we had a lot of meetings, discussions. We talked about the script, talked about the characters, talked about ourselves. And then Jonathan was changing some things in the script because Sandra and I, we were the actors who played these characters or create these characters. And it's a good question. Sometimes I worked on a movie called Elsa, and I played a resistance fighter against the Nazis, and I read a lot of things about him. There was an interview with commandants, and I was researching things, but here I had the feeling it was not necessary to research anything. I don't want to know so much about this man, because it was not a psychological way to create the character. It was more a strange combination of my emotional archive and the scenes, the situations. It was more to find a way to create believable, ordinary, sometimes boring situations. And that was a different kind of preparing, I would say. And I had a lot of technical preparing things, for example, to learn horseback riding. I had 1.5 year trainee because Rudolf Höss was a very good horseback rider. He was interested in nature. I read some articles or books about birds, because there was a scene with the kids in the canoe, and I know that I had to improvise and with a little bit knowledge of nature and birds. And yeah, and step by step, but there were a lot of things I didn't know when we shoot, and that was good sometimes not to know so much, not to prepare too much, because Jonathan said, don't act, be. It's, to be honest, it's our work as an actor to create truth, or that you can believe that. But here, with this multi-camera system we used for this movie, it was a different kind of acting and preparing.
I wanted to develop on that because it's difficult for me to imagine a typical day on set of the Zone of Interest. We know that the house was fully built from scratch, I would say. We can see in the film that it's brand freshly painted, and it's really new and pristine, which is really difficult when you watch a film about ancient past, watching a thing like that. But I wanted to ask you about just how it was. For example, Tuesday, this second or fifth day of shooting, and what you actually do, because I think it's an interesting process that happened in the house.
It was, for me, a luxury situation, because we came on set and everything was prepared, and there were no technicians on set. The focus puller, the great Polish focus puller, were at the basement. Jonathan and his team were next to the set in a little room with 10 monitors, and we had these cameras on set. Some of them were hidden, some of them were seen, and we were alone on the set, and sometimes we were alone for hours because there were no cut. No one said cut. There were scenes, we had run-throughs, then we talked about that and we made a new run-through. But there were also scenes we had a lot of time, and we had the possibility to improvise, and the improvisation gave us the freedom to find the right tone, to find the right rhythm for the situations. For example, we had to eat the birthday cake. The family came, they sang a song, and then we sat down and eat the birthday cake, and we had a conversation, and it was half an hour or 40 minutes. So without stop, without pause. And the great thing were, we were at the same boat at the same time. We had the same energy. We had to keep the tension, and that was really amazing. There were no interruptions to say, okay, now a close-up on Sandra, and then a close-up. No, we were alone, we had no interruptions, and we had the freedom to make variations, or to make mistakes. Actors are afraid to make mistakes. They want to entertain the people. They want to be good in every scene and strong. But we had all the time in the world to, only to be in a room, only to be boring, or some. That was really amazing, and it was a great freedom. Yeah.
What about the so-called genius loci? I mean, the place that you are shooting, because the house was built in Oświęcim. So coming there, it could be in the studio. Let's just imagine this kind of situation. But the team decided that it's going to be there. How that influences the being, not the acting, in this situation? Let's follow on the Jonathan Glazer idea. Don't act, be. But you are there. I mean, there with capital T.
I think this is a really smart decision. At the beginning, to be honest, I was thinking it's, what you said. It was an amazing set, and it could be, every movie could be produced in a studio or in a different place, or in a quiet place. But to be there, to feel that we are close. We were close to the original camp, I think 50 meters or something, 100 meters, but very close. There was the gas chamber 1. we were very close to the original house. One scene we were was in the original house in the basement, in the original basement. That was really yeah, crazy. But to be there, to feel there, to not to forget what we are doing, that was not only for us as actors, for everyone, was really intense and important, I think. Never forget what we are doing here, and to feel the responsibility towards the victims. And yeah, I think that was a smart decision. For some scenes, maybe we were so concentrated to, yeah, to create a daily situation, but to feel, when I came home in my hotel room, then I felt, oh my God, sometimes I was shocked. I forgot where we are and how easy it is to forget. And that was, but to be there reminds us every day, this is the place, and this is, you feel that.
When I watched the film, I was trying to imagine, because I already know how it was made. I mean, the fact that it was shot in this really specific way. But I was trying to imagine the fact that there is no sound. I mean, the sound that we hear in the film. There is this idea that Jonathan Glazer talked about called film A and film B, the one that you see and the one that you hear. But what about the sound when you were shooting it? There was nothing, just the life around, the birds chirping and...
Yes, it was silence. It was really... and I think this was also a smart decision, because we didn't have to pretend that we ignore the sounds. We live a normal life, and the contrast is more, it's stronger now if you watch the movie and if you hear all these things in this incredible sound design, and you see our behavior. This contrast is so strong, and it was a smart decision not to listening to sounds on set.
Yeah, it would be difficult also not to get scared of what is going on in the audio sphere of the situation. It's really amazing idea. I'm going to share my opinion on that you had the opportunity to do it in that way. And if it comes to scenes, because as you said, there are situations, scenes, some of them are, as you said, easy to forget that you are really doing this. But were there moments that were, for you as an actor, really difficult to do in this film?
Many moments. For me, I was afraid of one scene. In the winter shoot in Katowice, the last scene in the movie, Rudolf Höss is throwing up in the stairs, because the last time I was throwing up was 25 years ago, and Jonathan Glazer, he likes method acting, and I was really afraid of that, because to lose control, that's, yeah. I was prepared. I had my doctor on set. He came from my hometown to Katowice to be at my side, and my sister was there too. That was really familiar.
Support team.
It was important for me, because I was willing to do everything for the movie. But then we decided to change a little bit, because it's not that Rudolf Höss is ill, it's more a battle of his body against his mind. So, and to find a way, we were inspired by the documentary The Act of Killing, because there's
Anwar Congo scene towards the end of the film.
Yeah, and if you watch this incredible moment, you see that the body reacts, and he's not, he cannot puke in a way. And I think that was a hard and technically really yeah, it was a tough night. I think it was 2 or 3 hours doing it again and again, almost 30 times. And I was grateful about this experience. And there were a lot of scenes. I was not afraid, but I was curious how it works. And sometimes I was a little bit unsure after a shooting day. And I had every day, I chat with Sandra. We were now close friends because it was a really intense time. And sometimes we discussed the shooting day and we were unsure what we are doing here. Is it right or is it wrong? Or I have no feeling, or it was strange. And that was really, yeah, after that you felt the dimension, what we are doing there.
Can you talk more about working with Sandra Hüller? Last year was kind of her year in cinema. Anatomy of a Fall, of course, and Zone of Interest focused on her. A few years back, we remember Tony Erdmann, also amazing film by Maren Ade, that she was in. But what was the theme of your conversations? How to approach the fact that you are playing those characters? Because as you said before, improvisation and being together in it was really helpful. Can you say more about that?
I was, when we had the casting, we had a long conversation about is it right or is it wrong what we are doing here, or how can we connect to these people we really hate. And we had a different approach, and we talked about that a lot of times. But it was really to know Sandra for years. We had another movie, I think 11 years ago, Amour Fou from Jessica Hausner, and she played my cousin, and I played Heinrich von Kleist, and it was a funny scene. And I met her for the first time, and I was a fan. I was a little fanboy, and I was a little bit nervous, but then we immediately had a connection together. And I think this connection, that we trust each other, not knowing so good, but this trust, and we are both actors, we listen to each other, and we have no ambitions to be the best in a scene or something. We react. And this was really, I enjoyed working with her, and I learned as an actor too, because we had this scene when she said, "No, you go, but I stay because this is paradise for me." Her monologue, I was fascinating to listen to her, and fascinating how for me, she was so brave not to be afraid to do variations and not to be afraid to make a mistake. And I was really fascinated, particularly in this scene, about her work, how she worked. And we are sometimes different, how we approach to these characters. She said, I don't want to connect myself with this woman. I want to create with my behavior, a behavior I go from the outside into the inside, and I'm sometimes go the other way to connect to this person. But it was, we both were together, and I was really sad when she was done, and I had to do the winter without her. And when I was here in Łódź 2 years ago for 3 additional shooting days, then we had a phone call together, and then it was so great to hear her voice, to listen to her voice, and to had another scene with her together, because she was very important for me the whole time for this project.
And this project took a lot of time to shoot. There was a lot of time to improvise. Those shooting days were long, but you are in there. I mean, in the house, in the character. What are your ideas how to finish the day? Are you trying to come to the surface in a way and then dive again the next day, or you just stay with it? Because it feels like a really intense and also on this humane level stressful project. I mean the connection with the past, the place, and so on and so forth.
After shooting day, I watched the whole season of an entertaining Netflix series, House of, I don't know the translation in Polish, but it's the series about bank robbery from a group of...
The Spanish one.
The Spanish one, yeah.
Casa
de
Papel.
Yeah, de Papel, yeah. I watched the whole season of
always
this.
there.
They are fans of series here in the room. Yeah. And I listened to music. We had to some mastering a new record from my band, and there was a new record I remember from Billie Eilish. And
you too always listen to it in the evening?
Yeah,
like,
I'm
so
a
many
huge
people do
Billie
that
Eilish
these
fan,
days.
and I met her in Hollywood, and I talked to her brother, and I said, "Thank you, because this record helps me to find a way out of that." But the fact, I started to ignore the fact what we are doing or what person the cocktail of this character with this darkness inside. Because for me, Jonathan said to me, have all these pictures of his work in your mind, but don't show me that. Your eyes needs to stay cold and not readable, because the audience have sometimes the feeling, okay, this is an evil person and it's not me. But here, don't read the person. And I ignored some of the facts, and I was one day in Krakow and I was alone. It was a day off, and then I had the first time in my life a panic attack. And I was thinking, oh my God, now I have COVID or something, or it's a side effect of that. But then I thought, okay, my body starts to say stop, because it was really intense and it was not easy to ignore the fact what I'm playing there. And that was really an important thing to me, to learn how can I shake this out of my body to stay healthy in this intense work. Because sometimes I was naive. I was thinking, my God, I'm playing an ordinary man, a family man
in the new house,
love with his kids. He reads some fairy tales. He's sitting at the table eating a soup or something. It's not this big thing, but then it was more than that, and that my body said it to me, and it was really interesting.
That's really interesting that also the things that are outside of the frame for you are making you feel things as we are as viewers, because we never see anything. It's a really radical decision. As you discovered, the audience is really present and they are really helpful. So would you be okay with the fact that I'm going to ask them if they have any questions at this point of time?
Yes, of course.
Yes, we do have one person in here. Czy ktoś jeszcze będzie chciał zapytać o coś? To tak już prześledzimy. Na razie jedna osoba, okej.
Hi, hello. I'm also a bit shy and nervous, so sorry in advance for my English, but I wrote down my questions, so in hope not to make huge mistakes. First of all, I would like to thank you so much for your role in the Zone of Interest, and also in the Elzar movie, which you mentioned, and which I also liked very much. And you were talking about research, and consider the fact that you played a huge roles into historical movies. I was wondering, what is your experience with this type of cinema as a viewer, not necessarily as an actor, but as a viewer, and if this have had some impact on your approach to the role of Rudolf Hess, but also Georg Elser?
Thank you.
And I must say that I'm so looking forward to see you in White Lotus.
We're going to end every question with that,
Yeah.
okay?
For me, to be honest, when I was in my youth, I watched only popcorn movies. My dream was to be a part of a science fiction movie or a fantasy movie. I'm a huge
The universe is listening, you know.
Matrix fan and so on. And when I start acting, and my first movie was The White Ribbon, and this is so art house, and I learned a lot about these movies. And I remember my mother, my late mother, she watched The White Ribbon with me together at a festival, and she never watched such movies, art house movies, and she was so touched. Maybe she was afraid because these movies are so, yes, of course, much deeper in storytelling, in acting, in visionary things. And I learned that starting with The White Ribbon, and I'm so grateful that I can be part of so many different directors' choices, directors' visions, and now I don't want to. No, one day one fantasy movie, please. But and White Lotus, for example, it was entertainment and it was really fun to do that. But I really like to create different things, experimental things. For me as an actor, I learn so much working in this space and even viewing these movies. And I think it's so important that we, to create an artist movie is so difficult. And even in this, I talked to Eva. We live now in the difficult times, even in Germany. There are a lot of problems to finance such a unique project, and I think the zone of interest was very complicated to finance this movie, and now we are really happy to have this movie, and it's a relevant movie, it's an important movie, but it's, sometimes we have to believe in art and in different cinema choices. It's important that we have this entertainment industry. It's really important. Even in this difficult political times, we don't want to watch mirroring ourselves every day. But I'm so grateful that we have these movies, because these movies open our minds and our hearts in a different way. And it's not only popcorn and you can forget the movie. It's just entertaining and have a good time for some hours. That's good, but we need art that stays with us, that inspires us, that asks the right questions, and maybe they change our opinions in a way, or to think about. And even this movie, I think it's so important in these times. We have to be aware that this darkness could be in all of us, even if we have a different background. We are all humans, and we are capable to ignoring things. And I think it's so strong if we go into this darkness, if we are willing to go with this, to watch this movie in an intense way, then we think in a different. I'm sure we think about that. Yeah. Sorry for my English, but yeah, you understand what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really moving, and I think it's what we need to hear. In here, there's a lot of people that are connected with cinema, writing about it, talking about it. So what you are saying is actually directed to our hearts also. But speaking of entertaining and funny things, working with Michael Haneke. Of course, I needed to crack this joke because we know he's a really serious director, and
but he's a really funny guy. He's funny.
I've watched a film about him going to Ingmar Bergman's house, and he was laughing so hard because Bergman gave like 3 out of 5 stars to one of his films, and he was like, "Why only this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, he's like," and he was like smiling and really vivid, cordial person. When we watch his films, we can have a different idea about him, of course, but can you tell us a bit about working with him, because his method is completely different from what Jonathan Glazer asks you to do, and that was your debut. You were such an innocent character in the film, and at the same time such an innocent actor just starting. Tell us a bit more about working with him.
Michael Haneke was like a teacher, like a mentor for me. I remember my first shooting days, I was so afraid because I heard a story that in Funny Games there was a different actor for the father, and after 1 week he said, "You are not the right actor for this part," and then he changed to Ulrich Mühe, and I was afraid that after 1 week shooting The White Ribbon he decided to change my position, and I was a little bit afraid. But he said after the first shooting day, "No, it was good. The fishes were not good, but you are good," because that was a fishing scene, and he had some problems with the fishes because the water was not in the right temperature, and the fishes were not natural, and he was so frustrated about the fact. But working with Michael Haneke, it was really fascinating, and I learned a lot. And even in the casting process, I had 4 casting rounds for The White Ribbon, and every round for me was like a master class. Because when I had the first casting, he said to me, "Christian, don't forget, if you're starting a dialogue, there's a reason. You don't tell the reason in the first sentence, but there's a reason why do you talk to someone. Don't forget that. This is the tension for the dialogue." And this is such, it's a genius thing, or it's so true. It's so true, because sometimes if we work in a theater, we create for every sentence, we want to show that we are good actors and we are really flexible and creative. But to start a dialogue, we have a reason, and it was, I learned a lot from him, and I was in the casting process, I had the feeling, no, there were some famous actors who wants to be the part of this movie, working with Michael Haneke, and I know that some of the actors I saw in the casting process, and I had the feeling who I am. But then he chose, because it's not necessary if I'm famous or not. It's not important to him. It's important to find the right actor. And he said, casting is the most important process of a movie. If you cast right people, it's half of the movie, so half of the work. And this was really interesting when we shooting The White Ribbon. I had a lot of freedom. He never said to me, think that, do that. It was more technically, you go there, and then you go there, and you end there. And now it's your turn. Because he said to me before we shooting, do you have any questions? And the script was so, I had no questions. So, but I had the feeling, okay, now he asked me, I had to, and then he said, stop, Christian, learn your lines, and you are the right person, you do the right thing. And I listen to you, and if I hear something is wrong, then I will tell you that. But you can trust me, do your own thing. And then when we're shooting, he sat next to the camera with closed eyes, and he's only listening, he's not watching us. Because he said, the ears not betray you, but the eyes betray you. And that was really interesting. And it's, you have to, it's the same in this movie. Yes. What you hear is the truth, not what you see. That's what I thought, yeah. And there are many similarities. But Jonathan is different because Jonathan is a collector. Jonathan collects variations, and the decisions are in the post-production. So, and but Haneke is very precise when he's working. He's searching. He knows every cut. in his script book, and you can buy the script book of The White Ribbon with his little sketches, and you see every sketch is the same thing what you see in the movie, and he's so precise. He has his vision, and this is really amazing. So, and it's amazing to work with these two visionary directors. They are so different, but they are also so precise in what they are searching for.
And also on this, a bit on the thematic level, the films are connected to each other. Were you thinking about that aspect when you were in the zone of interest?
Because in The White Ribbon, you see, if you remember, you watch for 10 minutes only a door, but you hear what's behind the door. And I think the zone of interest is a movie, is this door. You watch a family, but you hear what's going on, and this is for me a connection. And it's not only this connection, because in The White Ribbon you see the kids, the children of The White Ribbon could be the future perpetrators of the zone of interest. And I think there's a connection, maybe it's a prequel or sequel, no, sequel of The White Ribbon, could be.
It's interesting to think about it that way, that those films are talking to each other many years past, but and you are the connection part of those things. Do we have more questions? Drodzy Państwo, czy macie jakieś pytania? Jest całkiem sporo, więc pozwólcie, że koleżanka najpierw tutaj, a później... Dobrze, tam do tyłu dotrzemy. Dziękuję bardzo.
Hi, so first of all, before I ask my question, I feel this need to say thank you for talking about your panic attack, because personally, and I believe I'm not the only one in this audience here, like this really just resonated with me as a person who deals with such problems myself. It was like, wow, somebody who does such great big things also has this problem sometimes, and also like, you know, just your body does its own thing. So thank you for talking about that. And I wanted to say, I wanted to ask you, before all the good reviews came, all the awards came, did you have like doubts if this is the right thing you're doing, if this is even going to sell? Are people actually going to want to watch that? Did you ever like had any doubts before this movie was what it is now?
Yes, I had doubts, and I said to my family, this movie maybe only is for 1 or 2 weeks in a cinema, because it's so art house, I was thinking. And then I was really surprised, even my friends and family, their reactions to this movie, I never expected that. I was thinking this is a unique vision, but I was thinking it's so special, and I was really surprised about this huge success. We wish such an success and recognition, but I had, to be honest, I had some doubts, and then I was really, we were all lucky about this, and even in Germany it was almost 1 million people watched the movie, and this is really, really, in times of cinemas have trouble with audiences, but it was really, I was really surprised and happy and grateful that people recognize this work and talk about this work, and but it was not sure. But it's always in art, it's a good sign not to, and it's healthy in a way, not to know that will happen. So then you can,
Thank you. Można jeszcze, tam z tyłu.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question about acting, because we all here are actors from Polish Łódź Film School, and I'm very curious about, because you said you didn't know everything about your character, and that's a particular thing that really interests me, because I think that our professors always tells us you need to know everything about your character. And did you try to connect with him? Did you try to like understand what he did? Because that's really curious to me because of the acting technique. And if you could like tell a little bit more about that, I would be very grateful.
I don't believe that we have to know everything about characters. Your professors are right, are good professors.
But
But in my opinion, sometimes if your head it's so heavy with all this information, you cannot play that, and it's not good to show. Jonathan said very often, "Don't show me too much," and this is a very important sentence, because sometimes if you know so many things, you want to show them, but sometimes a situation is only a conversation, is only a small part of this character. And I think even in a theater or in a movie, the situations create the character. And you are like a, I don't know, how can I say it? Yeah, for me, sometimes it's good to have to be inspired. How is my body language, for example? How is my body language? When I played Georg Elser, this was a character not so like my behavior. The director said to me, he's a tough man, so I'm more of a shy or soft person, I would say, in a good way. But I had to change, I had to work with my behavior. And there are a lot of different methods to create a character. But I think, and we are so individual as actors, we are not the same. We cannot say this method is the right method to create a character, because when my emotional archive and to use my emotional archive to connect with the characters is so different than your emotional archive. You know, your joy is different than my joy, and but you have to use your joy to connect it with joy in a particular situation. And I think sometimes not to know so much gives you, some actors are afraid of that fact. But here in the zone of interest, if we are in the house and we had no rehearsals for the scenes, we starting immediately to create this. And this is, some people are afraid of that, but I think it's a great thing, because sometimes things are happening you cannot prepare, you cannot know. These things are happening because of reaction, because of listening, because of, to be in this situation. And if you improvise, there is sometimes, if it's a long improvisation, there is sometimes a point you don't know what's going on, or can we go on? And this is the best point. Use this point, and then you see, oh my God, there's something I didn't know. Don't be afraid of not knowing so much. But sometimes if you play a character like, I don't know, a person, if I play Michael Jackson, for example, then there are a lot of pictures.
I can imagine that.
If you play a person, you have a lot of material. Then it's a creative process to find a way to recreate this person. But in every historical piece or in many movies, you have your own freedom and your own personality, and this is great. We all actors, and I really like the fact that we are. If I play Hamlet, it's not the same if you play Hamlet. This is, I think it's a great thing, and we have to trust our personality. And for me, acting, sorry, it's a long answer, but acting school for me was more to find myself and not to know how I have to create a character. So it's more important to know you and and that's the most important thing, and trust yourself. I hope that was a little bit helpful, but
yeah, thank you very much.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the inspiring question, because the sound of Michael Jackson was, connected with it in a way.
I'm too late because the biopic is now, the first biopic is done, and I think it's coming next year.
But we are in the culture of repetition and remake, so you never know. Do we have more? I think we have time for those two questions also, and soon we're going to have to go a bit towards the end of our meeting.
Hello, so I'm studying with those guys, and I have one question about how do you choose your work and your roles? Because I think you're on a point when you can choose your roles, or at least from your school times you had a variations of roles that you feel comfortable in, and how do you see yourself in deciding your future roles, and what is the first thing you look for?
Thank you for this question. For me, the most important thing is if I'm interested in the character, the script is very important, and the director is very important for me. This combination is for me, really important. And at the beginning, after the White Ribbon, I decided not to make everything because, and I can say, it's don't be afraid to make decisions, because sometimes you have the feeling, okay, I have to. I'm a lucky person because I work also as a musician, I work also as a theater actor, and I had the freedom to say no to many, many projects and to decide this is a good next project. And after the Zone of Interest, it was really, for me, there were a lot of new movies. Maybe some of the movies are in the same period time, and I had the feeling I had to make a break from Nazi time, because I did a lot of, and now I'm working on the new season of Babylon Berlin, and it's the last season of the series, and it's Nazis are there, and but my storyline is so, it's a touching, it's a great storyline, and I was interested in the character, and I want to work with Tom Tykwer, for example, and I can say it's really important that you trust your inner feelings and your impulses to make a right decision. If you have a connection to a project, then do it. But if you have a thing, oh my God, this is not good, and I don't feel comfortable, and if you have the luxury situation, you don't need money, then don't do it. I would say. Because sometimes, you are then, after the Zone of Interest, I make the decision. I had this offer to be a part of, I don't know if you know the series, The White Lotus.
It rings a bell, I think.
And I was thinking to be a part of an entertaining series, to work, for me, the chance to work with a different language, and to work with such an incredible director too, because Mike White is a smart and also a genius director, I think. And he wrote an amazing new season. I'm not allowed to talk about that, but
we only know that it's in
Thailand.
And we as Polish people, as I told you, hope that the fourth season is going to be here in Poland, Baltic or Mazury or something.
You never
like
know.
We never know.
I heard the rumor that you want to create the next season in Europe, but oh my God, now it's my contract. Oh my God! But you never know. And yeah, but oh my God. But but for me, it was important as an actor to do the opposite of the zone of interest, and the zone of interest was the darkness, and I think the White Lotus now is the light, and I'm a funny character in the series, and it was really funny. In the first days, the people were a little bit afraid of me because they watched the zone of interest and they said, "Oh my God, this." But then they were surprised that I can be a sympathetic and funny person, and that was good. Yeah.
Thank you for this question, because now we know more about White Lotus season. That's going to be the last question. Far in the back. Thank you.
So, hi. My question is a little bit about the zone of interest, but I think the question can be asked about every character you played. Because we are speaking about how you got into the character of here, Rudolf. And my question is, how much time did it take you to like shake this character off of you, you know, after the shooting?
Here, after this movie, it takes a long time, because we shot the movie. We started to shot the movie in Oswiecim for the summer shoot. Then we had a break. Then we had the winter shoot in Katowice. And then after 1 year, I had to come back in this character. And in this year, I had to shake it out and to come back to the character. I was not lucky about the fact, because Sandra sent me a picture when she had her last day and she was driving home, and she had a smile of relief in her face, and she sent me this picture, and I sent to her the same picture when I had my last shooting day, and it was a really intense day. I think it was the day we were in Warpschach, in a very strange hotel, I remember. But it was we had tears in our eyes. We were crying because it was the day of. It was the same day of the. Yeah, the camp where it was the anniversary, and the speech of Jonathan was so touching, and we all were touched, and after this to come back, that was really hard, and I had these wonderful haircuts for 2 years, and I was ashamed of that. I wear a hat because that was really, and it was difficult in this time, because I felt that there was something in my body and in my subconscious, and it was longer than other parts I did before, because I had a good some of the movies it's an intense time, and then you can say goodbye. And Elsa, for example, was a really emotional ending for me too, because it was the year after the death of my mother, and it was the first project of that, and I connected my loss with some of the intense scenes, and it was a real journey, intense journey, but after that, I had the feeling, okay, the project was done, and the character was out of my body. But here it was different. So, and I think this is not often that you have such an intense work like this. But I'm really grateful for the experience. I'm really grateful to knowing now more about myself and what's going on in the body and what could happen and I'm really grateful about this experience. But yeah.
So that would be my last question. Who would you like to work with? Because, you know, I always believe that the universe is listening, and you said that you are choosing the directors wisely, also the projects. But do you have any directors that you would like to work with?
With Christopher Nolan.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, because I love his films, and I love from the Memento.